Entered the chat. Welcome in. I'm George Balekji in the PNC Bank studio. He's Adam Pellerin joining me from his bunker, from his, we'll say, unknown location. The man of many mysteries. Undisclosed location. The man of many mysteries. But the man that we know squatted 585 pounds in his prime. Adam, how we doing today, bro?
In the old Norton High days, I was squatting 585, actually 586. Nick Chubb, 585. That's children's play. No, I'm doing great. With my salmon shirt, I'm talking about squatting allegedly 585. No, not even close.
Look, man, I've seen you in the work gym. I would not mess around with you. On my best day, I would just say, yes, sir, whatever you need, sir, and walk the other direction. I would not mess with you. We're not going to only talk about our high school prime days or Adam's lifting numbers. We got plenty in the show for you guys today. Brandon Ayuk, as of right now, demanding a trade from the 49ers. They're saying no. We're going to talk about that. Bronny James and his struggles through the summer league. But does he have some upside to him, and will he grow? We'll also talk about that national anthem performance. Most importantly, our favorite anthems, or you could say the worst anthems we think, in our opinion. And then we go through ESPN's top 100 athletes of the 2000s list, give our opinion on those, who's snubbed, who's too low, who's too high, and then also pick our favorite top 3 athletes of the 2000s in our opinion. Adam, let's start with what's trending today. All starting with Brandon Ayuk. We've seen the saga of him, wanting to get paid and continually saying that, he's not getting respect from the Niners. The Niners saying there's no negotiations. Him posting FaceTimes with Jayden Daniels, who's his boy, going back to the Arizona State days. And now Ayuk is saying, I demand a trade. The Niners are saying, we're not trading you. I'm not surprised at all. What about you for this?
Did Jayden Daniels make the announcement on behalf of Brandon Ayuk? Because they've been communicating so much out in the public space. I'm just wondering.
It was Brandon Ayuk FaceTiming Jayden Daniels, and then Jayden Daniels screen recording, posting to his IG, tagging Ayuk resharing, and then Ayuk tagging the 49ers to let them know. I think that's how he did it.
And that is 2024 in a nutshell. Yeah, no surprise that Brandon Ayuk was demanded a trade. Obviously, he's put it out there. He's not happy with his contract situation. He wants to be paid like a number 1 wide receiver, like a Justin Jefferson. He's not going to get that money, but he's looking at the Amon St. Brown contract in Detroit and saying, I should be getting paid like him, $30 million per year. So the Niners and Ayuk are at a crossroads. Niners say they don't want to trade him. They obviously want to work out a deal with him, but as to whether or not they're going to be able to do that before training camp, we have a holdout situation remains to be seen.
Yeah, I'm just 0% surprised by this. I think his best bet is to stick with the team, play there. Last year of his deal, you're in one of the best offenses in the NFL. You're going to win a Super Bowl very likely. If you can beat Patrick Mahomes, you get paid in free agency that way, and you pick your destination. I can see a trade ending very poorly for him because he could end up with a team. I mean, you're playing for a top 3 team in the NFL. It doesn't get better than that. He could end up anywhere in the league. They'll go with whoever gives them the best trade package and assets and draft picks back, and it could just end poorly for him overall. I'm just not surprised this saga with Brandon Ayuk got to this point. Speaking of drafts and futures, the Red Sox, they drafted David Ortiz's son, D'Angelo Ortiz, in the 19th round of the MLB draft. 6'1", 190, 21 years old. Adam, I hear this 19th round draft pick. That tells me D'Angelo Ortiz will go back to JUCO baseball or maybe college if he's ready to take that next step in his career. He's just now in the Red Sox farm system, and I also think we know why the Red Sox did this pick. A nice gesture to David Ortiz, who's one of the greatest players in franchise history and MLB history. And for D'Angelo, this gets him into their system. And of course, if the kid decides to go back, he could re-declare for the draft and get picked by another team next year.
Just to make one thing clear, if you get drafted in any professional sport, you know how to tie your spikes. This kid can play, no doubt about that. Remains to be seen how far he gets through, in the Red Sox organization, if he ends up signing with them or professionally. We'll have to see. I mean, he obviously has good genes, but the thing that stands out to me is just feeling so old right now. Just feeling so old because I remember when D'Angelo was born during 2004. I remember seeing him around the ballpark. I remember him hosting or being a part of Ness and Clubhouse episodes when I was at Ness. I've been in Ness for 12 years, so I remember him as a little kid. So it's it's just crazy, man. Time goes by, and Manny Ramirez is one of Manny Ramirez's sons got drafted as well. Lucas Ramirez in the 17th round by the Angels. So pretty cool.
Yeah, D'Angelo Ortiz. And if you play JUCO baseball in college, like that's not a bad thing at all. Junior college baseball is some of the highest level players, athletes you'll see at any level of baseball, and many of them go right from JUCO into a farm system MLB. Manny Ramirez's son, he plays at Tennessee. I mean, both are big-time programs where those guys are playing. Insane to look at this draft and see an Ortiz getting picked and a Ramirez getting picked. And like you said, Adam, you're getting picked in any professional draft. You know what you're doing on the field. Finally, Patrick Beverley plans to leave the NBA and sign with an Israeli basketball club in Tel Aviv. He announced this on his podcast. I don't subscribe to it. I don't listen to it, so he's not going to answer any questions I ask him.
He won't be a guest.
Interesting move after 12 years in the league, but also this is a career that was started by him playing overseas in Ukraine, Greece, and Russia. So he's saying at this point in his career that he's going to go back overseas and play in, not Europe, but obviously play in the Middle East. I don't hate this move because I think for some vets and someone like him, I mean, you'd rather live in Tel Aviv and play in Israel. If you play overseas, they pay for your car, they pay for your house, you get a good salary per year. And again, you're living in Tel Aviv compared to, I'm going to say, if he was living in Cleveland or like Minneapolis or where else? Memphis, you know? So kind of a weird play. You'd see him go right from the NBA overseas, but it's not a complete shock to me. I also think his time in the NBA was coming to an end because he was just being a jerk to everyone he shared a locker room with.
Yeah, not unprecedented, this move for an NBA player, tail end of his career, to go overseas and make some money before they finally hang up their sneakers. I do want to point out that he had said that he was weighing contract offer from an NBA team and a team in Europe. And as you pointed out, Israel is not in Europe. So he has to update his geography Rolodex in his head. And I'm not sorry to see this guy go, to be honest with you. And you talked about him being a jerk, you know, throwing a basketball at a fan and also alienating a reporter. And you alluded to this in the locker room because she didn't subscribe to his podcast or listen to his podcast or whatever that was. It was so immature. You know, good riddance is what I say. Have fun over there. You know, the guy's trying to, you know, make a name for himself off of the court. You've seen him on national network. You got his podcast or whatever. Fine, go do that. Be you. I'm not sorry to see him leave the NBA.
That was it. You know, I was like, good riddance. And I also was like, this move makes sense overall. If you're going to go get paid, and like I said, all the perks you get with that, still play basketball, and he's not a stranger to it. I mean, for a guy, I give the credit. He made it from Ukraine, Greece, and Russia to the NBA, had a long career here. But towards the end of it, just an all-around a-hole. Yeah, whatever. You know, go ahead. It's all good. Enjoy the time difference because that means whenever you're posting your podcast can be different for us, and we'll see if he even carries it on wherever he's going. Speaking of,
he thinks he's in Europe, so
yeah. So hopefully he gets the right flight or goes to the right airport to get picked up by his team. How much you been following the summer league? Because the Bronny James saga and era of summer league, I mean, I've been captivated by it. I watched his league debut. I'm checking the box scores. It's working on me. I'm one of the guys. That's why we hear so much about it. You've been watching Bronny James and his games played so far. I mean, he just played the Celtics.
Yeah, I can't say I'm a big summer league guy. I've never been a big summer league guy. There's other things to do, like watch the paint dry on the walls. You know, no, I'm being mean. No, of course, I've been following it casually, like everybody has been, checking to see what Bronny James has done, and you know, it's been a huge storyline. Never before has there been a second round pick so scrutinized in NBA history. So, and that comes with it, right? I mean, that's what you would expect. This is LeBron James's son, and this has been a discussion for the last couple of years about LeBron and his future and how he wanted to hang on long enough to play with his son in the NBA. And it turns out, you know, he may get his wish. Again, it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. You know, are they going to actually put him on the roster in LA? Are they actually going to do that and appease LeBron James? Because right now, I mean, it doesn't look like he's earning himself a roster spot with his play in the summer league. And, you know, I know you can't rely on the box scores in summer league to tell the story as to whether or not this could be a contributor at the NBA level, but so far what we've seen hasn't been very good. So, I mean, he has to get a lot better in summer league and in training camp. We have to see a lot of improvement if he has any chance of sniffing the roster.
Yeah, so far 3 summer league games, scored just 15 points total, hasn't hit a 3 in 15 attempts. his most recent performance against the Celtics, a minus 22 in the plus minus. This is a kid that came in, and like you said, most scrutinized draft pick I think we've ever seen. Most scrutinized second-round pick, definitely in the NBA, and it's all because of who his dad is, but what this process has been, where he wasn't great in college, and he didn't have to be off the jump. This is a guy and a prospect I think should have went back to USC, should have learned under Eric Musselman, who has a track record of developing and sending guards to the NBA, which is what Bronny James is. Or transfer to an Arkansas where John Calipari has done the same thing. No matter what, I think he should have stayed at the college level because he was a player playing just around 20 minutes a night, but would disappear on the floor. And that's the biggest thing. If you disappear on the floor in the college level, you don't stand out consistently, what are you going to do on an NBA floor? He's had his struggles in the summer league. There are guys that are going to up their game playing more aggressively because of who he is, all the hype that gets around him, and they also don't want to be on the wrong end of a highlight because he does anything, a layup, a jump shot, a deflection like he had against the Celtics, which was a good defensive play. That's all you're going to see across ESPN, Bleacher Report, Hoops Highlights, all of those accounts. He has been struggling. It doesn't come as a surprise. I think this is a kid's going to take a while for him in the G League this upcoming season. We'll see how it goes along. What made it interesting in his performance against the Celtics, Jaylen Brown was sitting courtside in Vegas and innocently being shot, just watching the game. It was right at the moment where he turned to. And again, Adam, this goes into, this would be a nothing if it was anyone but Bronny. The lip-reading detectives of the internet caught Jaylen Brown saying, I don't think Bronny is a pro. And he followed up a quote tweet of the video, didn't deny it, Adam. He goes, it's a flex to have your son alongside you in the NBA. It reflects greatness and longevity. Bronny has all the tools around him to be successful. I look forward to watching his growth. He didn't say, Adam, that he didn't say what people read his lips about on Bronny. He didn't deny it. Give him credit to that. And he's also right here. It's a flex to have your son along in the NBA. But what he's saying, it reflects greatness and longevity. It's all about LeBron on this one.
No wonder he's not on Team USA.
And that could be to it too.
No, man. I don't know. I mean, you're right. You're spot on. Obviously, it's Bronny James and Jaylen Brown is watching the game and people are going to, and look, and if it were someone else who said this, maybe the camera wouldn't have been on him as much, but Jaylen Brown has been under the microscope lately, right? And so, everybody's watching his every move because of, the Team USA stuff and the comments about Nike and whether or not, his relationship with Derek White has changed because of that. So, I mean, he's under the microscope right now. And so he sort of is added to that with his comments, alleged comments about Bronny James. Again, you're talking about lip reading experts. I mean, I think that's what he said based on his tweet. He didn't deny it. So obviously he said something along those lines, but I mean, he's right, isn't he?
He's right. I think so all the way. And he's like kind of saying the quiet thing out loud where you're not getting it from athletes. You're not getting it from pundits and guys that cover the NBA, like some of the top reporters. And it's all around politics that is involved with this. You're Bronny James' son, so you don't want to upset one of the best players in the league. And credit to LeBron James. He is still one of the best players in the league at 40 years old. Insane to even think of. And then the extra layer to it is Rich Paul, who is LeBron's childhood best friend, who has become one of the most successful agents in all of pro sports around the world, is one of the most powerful agents in the NBA. You speak out against Bronny and his process. You're speaking out against Rich Paul. Who knows how that can affect you in free agency, what teams you sign with, depending on clients are. And also, same thing for the media guys, where agents are their source of information. And if they go against Bronny James, then Rich Paul, all of a sudden, same thing, blackballs them. I go to Bronny James on this one, and I've said it, and I agree with Jaylen Brown. I don't think he's a pro right now. Could he progress, and become a role player, a rotational guy down the road? Sure, I wouldn't deny that. I mean, I think he's athletic enough. He needs to improve his shooting. But for, he's a 3-and-D guy, and the comps he gets like a Davion Mitchell at the college level, who he wasn't even close to when he was playing at USC. It's all skewed. It's all different because of who he is. And the same thing, Adam, you said it too. We wouldn't even care about what Jaylen is saying there. If you're just talking about Anton Watson, who is his teammate and on the Celtics and was picked right before Bronny, we wouldn't care if he was talking about a 55th overall pick from a different draft. It's all because of he said it about Bronny, and that's what makes it the rounds. And I guess kind of credit to Jaylen Brown here of just kind of sticking with not denying it and in a way praising LeBron a little bit, I guess. But, I think Jaylen Brown right now is just like on the I don't give an F tour after what happened with Team USA basketball. And, credit to him.
Well,
man.
clearly he does, though. Clearly he does care, because if he didn't care, he would go out on social media and say, yeah, I said it. I think Bronny James is a scrub, but you made all the good points about why he does care. He does care about what people think about him, because it could impact him at some point down the line. But when it comes to legacies, and we just got done talking about D'Angelo Ortiz being drafted by the Red Sox. Baseball and basketball are completely different, by the way, right? So we're not talking about D'Angelo Ortiz like this, because it's like, well, in baseball, when a guy gets drafted, you're not going to see him for 5 years at the earliest in a lot of cases, right? And so, and you even mentioned you could go to college. There are so many different options there. So, with basketball, it's much different. Guys who get drafted typically are candidates to make the NBA roster, the professional roster. So that's why you sort of focus on Bronny James, and you think about the fact that genetics are funny, right? It's like, it's no guarantee that just because your dad is one of the greatest players of all time that you're going to follow suit. I mean, I was looking it up, right, and thinking about Michael Jordan, and his kids, right, and a couple of his sons played in college but didn't go any further than that. You look at some of the other NBA, players, where it's actually the reverse, where the son's better. Steph Curry is a perfect example.
Yep.
Right, Del Curry was a great shooter. He was a great sixth man in the NBA for a lot of years, but Steph ended up being better. So it's just funny. It's just funny how genetics can work sometimes, right? It's just funny to watch it play out.
Yeah, and just the scrutiny and the attention Bronny will get will be unlike what any other of these guys do. The one thing I hope with the kid, if he develops into a role player, and if he becomes a legit contributor and has a long NBA career, I think that says so much about Bronny James's mental strength, because of the amount of trash talk he's going to get, the amount of stray bullets he's going to get on social media, wherever he goes, because of who he is, what his last name is, for how this process is. I hope that the kid wants to play basketball, loves basketball. I hope that he is in agreement with this process for him to develop and become a player. Like, I hope this is the path he wants it to go, and this is how he wants his journey to go. Like, all right, get me to the Lakers, get me some of the best coaches in the world, get me around NBA development, and let's go from there. And I hope it all works out for him. And if it does, and he actually becomes a good NBA player, I'm not saying he has to be even an all-star, just a good contributor to an NBA team, then like you said it with anyone that gets drafted, they know how to tie their shoes, they know how to tie their cleats. Same thing with Bronny James. He did one of the rarest things in the world happened to him, where he got picked by an NBA team to be on their roster. If he develops and becomes an NBA player, man, basically, I mean, it's like he won the lottery. He's in the 1% of the 1% of people that could play a professional sport. For more on the Bronny James convo, check out the latest episode of Hold My Banner. Ante Campbell and I break that down, along with ranking some of our favorite jerseys in the NBA. And we talk more overall basketball across the NBA as well, along with our standouts from the G League. That's Hold My Banner, wherever you get your podcast, Spotify, Apple, Amazon Prime, and wherever you watch your podcast on YouTube and Twitch as well. Find Nesson there. All right, so Adam, I want to know, did you watch the Home Run Derby and just see Teoscar Hernandez absolutely own the night?
He obliterated baseballs. It was fun to watch that part of it. The Home Run Derby itself dragged a little bit for me, I thought. I remember back in the day they used to have outs instead of the time limit, and so there was a lot more value placed on pressure associated with each out. So the format itself it dragged a little bit, but once you got to the end, it was really exciting. It was cool, like seeing Teoscar and seeing Bobby Witt Jr. go head-to-head, toe-to-toe, and Witt Jr. coming out just short of tying it. But that part was fun.
I love that it was Teoscar Hernandez who absolutely just mashed and always has been his whole career. And then you have Bobby Witt Jr., who is carrying that Royals franchise, is a guy that they drafted and developed and paid, and he's been fantastic for them. And you have someone like the build of Bobby Witt Jr. going out and getting to the finals of the Home Run Derby, while Teoscar Hernandez built like a robot in a good way and goes out and does that too. I'm with you. I missed the 10 outs. It made everything more tense. It made everything more interesting. But I like the home runs on the clock, especially towards the end where they just have to hit, and beat the clock, and to see how much these guys are pushing themselves and how much it takes out of them to hit the ball like they do there. But the most important part, maybe memorable part of the night, was that national anthem sang by Ingrid Andress. And, I mean, it was making its rounds on Twitter. That's going down as one of the worst anthems I've ever heard for sure. I think it's up there with Fergie. When you think of anthems, good, bad, most memorable for you, Adam?
Yeah, I have a few on my list that are memorable. Some good, some bad. We'll start with the bad. The Fergie one you mentioned is the talking about a Mount Rushmore of bad. It's and what made it, like, not only was her voice terrible and the anthem terrible, but like the reactions of the players laughing as they were shooting all. I think Draymond Green was the one in particular who was going like this, like biting his shirt. That was absolutely like abhorrent. The other anthem I actually mentioned to you the other day, Carl Lewis.
Yes.
Singing the anthem in Chicago. Did you get a chance to watch it?
I watched it, laughing my ass off, dude.
Yeah.
And what's great is I've seen that clip. I didn't know it was Carl Lewis the last time I saw it, but when you mentioned right away you have to look up his anthem video, I was like, it has to be that one. And sure enough, it was.
Yeah, and then there's Roseanne Barr back in the day. You familiar with that one?
I think, and like, didn't she like it was on purpose what she was doing? It had to be.
Yeah. So she explained herself like years later, saying that like she had rehearsed it, and once she realized she couldn't hit the high notes, she just decided to be funny about it. But that was an absolute disaster. She was like, persona non grata for a long time after that. And then there was there was actually the moment at a U.S. Canada hockey exhibition game, I believe Caroline Marcel. Where French is her first language. She sang the Canadian national anthem. Then she sang the U.S. national anthem, and she forgot the lyrics, which has happened before with some anthems. But what made this one different is that she sang the anthem, started singing it, got the words wrong, started over, then started again, walked out like on the bench in the tunnel. And then when she walked back, she stepped on the carpet and she slipped and fell on the ice. And then she like walked back and was like done at that point. So there's that. And then the final one I have is there was a little girl. She's like 12, 13 years old singing the national anthem. She forgot the lyrics. And then Mo Cheeks, head coach, I believe it was with the Sixers at the time, came up, put his arm around her and sang it with her. And the crowd helped. And that was like a really cool, fun moment. So that was like an endearing moment. So I guess the point is there have been really good moments. Whitney Houston, by the way, all-time favorite at the Super Bowl back in the day after Desert Storm and everything going on there back in the day. But it's run the gamut of sort of really bad, really, really good, and then like some weird heartwarming moments as well.
Great move by Mo Cheeks. Adam, you always make the glass half full, my man. And that's why I love doing this with you. Because as much as we are like crapping all over people's performances, and if I had to sing an anthem, it would be the worst thing that ever happened. So I will say that. But I love that Mo Cheeks moment. The Carl Lewis one, though, what I appreciated is he knew he messed up by doing that. Like midway through, especially towards the end, he tried to hit the high note. He couldn't. He restarted the line. He's like, all right, got to finish now. Like started talking to the audience. Everyone started laughing. He knew he made the mistake of performing. He at least knew how bad he was. The one thing I give Fergie is like she probably walked. He was like, I killed that. That was all time. And it's like, yeah, it was all time bad. That's how it had to have been. My favorite I saw, and it was put on to me by one of our producers, JJ, the Scott Stopp from Creed. He sang a national anthem at the Ford 400 race, some NASCAR race back in the day, but he sang it exactly how you would expect Creed to sing the national anthem. And I think that's what made it so fantastic. Like, it would be like,
oh, say, can you see?
At the twilight's last gleaming. Like
anthem.
Exactly. I cannot do a Creed impersonation, as you can see. And I think that's what made it great. I was just, again, watching these, all I can do is laugh. That I just would love to know the process of selecting an anthem singer. Like, why for a NASCAR race? Why for a home run derby? Fergie was at an NBA All-Star game. Like, these are big things. Like, that is something big. at least do the vetting process of, hey, Fergie, how are you going to sing it? Listen to it. Go, don't do that. Don't give us Fergalicious. Do not give us whatever you just did, right? That's all I think with this. How does that happen?
Well, so I had, oh man, I can't
You sing
remember.
an anthem one time?
I sang an anthem. No, I did not sing an anthem one time. That actually happened the Super Bowl years ago. So Prince ended up. Actually, this was a halftime show. So there's a vetting. So I got confused. It wasn't the anthem. It was a halftime show where there was a vetting process. It was after the whole Justin Timberlake, Janet Jackson wardrobe malfunction and all that, and they wanted to have more of a vetting process. And so Prince actually like auditioned for it, like the Roger Goodell and like sponsors. Like he held like a private concert at his place.
That's awesome.
And he performed and it was sick. But in terms of like the anthem, I mean, I don't know. I have no idea how that works. I don't know how they vet. I mean, if you're a superstar and you obviously, they're like, yeah, you're singing the anthem and it's all good. But with some, like, and again, I don't know Ingrid at all. I have no idea who she is. Only her social media. But yeah, no, I mean, I would imagine like there's got to be like a Texas connection there. That's all I can think of. But yeah, it was a disaster, an absolute disaster.
It's in Dallas. Paul Wall's from Houston, but get like Paul Wall to sing it, like some Grills version. Beyonce from Houston too. I think that'd be a really pretty penny, so that makes sense. Yeah, like I never heard of Ingrid Andress before. Probably won't listen to her music. I know she's country. It's not exactly my cup of tea. Feel bad. Hope she's all good. But that was just an interesting anthem all around. And there were the fan tweets about it. Let's pull them up here. Even a Fergie reference made about this national anthem that went down at the Home Run Derby. Someone saying, Fergie seeing Ingrid Andress dethrone her for worst national anthem performance. Yeah, it has to be a celebration by Fergie where she's like, I'm no longer the woke. But in my opinion, I think Fergie still is. I think it was that bad.
Yeah, you know what though? Roseanne was the worst one I've ever seen in my life. I don't know. I get it. Like she made it like a joke, but like, man, it was bad. Fergie's was obviously bad, yeah, these are all bad. This is all bad. It's all bad.
Another one. Who already updated her Wikipedia page talking about for Ingrid? Let's see. Let me zoom in.
Oh.
Also known for butchering national anthem before 2024 ML. Yep.
Oh, wow. That stinks.
The old wiki switcheroo that has been taken down off her page, though. But, that happens quick. Not the first, won't be the last that someone's Wikipedia page gets updated in real time. Look, internet got its jokes off. That's what's going to happen when you sing the anthem this bad in this day and age. But yeah, so we all move past that and we look forward to the All-Star game and obviously the second half.
We look forward to better anthems.
Yeah, better anthems. Second half of the MLB season. And let's go.
My daughter
there.
is pretty good.
Is
My daughter
she?
can do it. She rehearses. She wants to be a famous singer.
Awesome.
And she's been practicing. She's taking singing lessons, and she practices the anthem. So I get a lot of renditions of the national anthem here in the Pellerin household.
I think it'd be cool one day. Let's manifest this. Adam Pellerin hosting Red Sox pre and post from the Wasabi Studios in center field, and you know what leads into that pre and post game, or maybe the highlights, is Adam Pellerin's daughter singing the national anthem at Fenway. I know you'd probably be crying. You wouldn't be able to do TV after that, and I don't blame you, right? And I'd be crying too for you, bro. I think it'd be awesome. So let's manifest that one day. Young daughter Pellerin, because I don't know your daughter's name. Sorry, singing the national anthem as your host.
Yes, Millie.
There we go, Millie Pellerin. That just sounds like a famous singer's name. Great job.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? We talked about D'Angelo Ortiz earlier, right? And David Ortiz's son being drafted. Well, David Ortiz's daughter sang the national anthem during his farewell tour at Fenway.
That's it.
So that was a pretty emotional moment. And she sang it beautifully, absolutely beautifully.
All right, so let's open up the auditions, and then maybe one day a duet, George and Adam Pellerin singing the national anthem. I don't even think Newton South High School would want that to happen, but hey, you never know.
No, I don't. No, not even close. Yeah, that's off the table, George.
We'll see how they can make it happen. Hey, man, dog days of the summer. It's all about rankings and lists right now. We put out plenty. ESPN slowly debuting their top 100 athletes of the 2000s, so of this century. And they first came out with 100 through 76, so the first 25. Names that jumped out, Ed Reed, 99. I think that's way too low. He's won literally, I think, the greatest safety of all time. Connor McDavid, 98. Yes, most dominant athlete. The one that caught my eye was 92, Pedro Martinez. Now, obviously, peak Pedro, that was like 96, 97, going right into the 2000s. Won 3 out of 4 Cy Young Awards. To me, he's the best pitcher of all time. What do you think of Pedro at 92, Adam? I'm really interested in your answer with this one because when I would watch Pedro, it would be when he'd be killing the Yankees and when I would catch Red Sox highlights on ESPN and SportsCenter. But you lived it. You saw it up close. What did you think of Pedro coming into this list at 92?
You know what, George? If it was a Major League Baseball top 100, I would have been ticked off about it. Obviously. Yeah. There's just so many athletes in the world, man. And I know that sounds like a duh. Of course there are. But we're here in America and the 4 major sports that we talk about consistently, right? Baseball, basketball, football, and hockey. We talk about those consistently. Football's the most popular sport in the United States right now, but it's not even top 10 in the world. Yep. And so we sort of lose sight of the fact that, cricket is one of the world's most popular sports. Formula One racing, is one of the world's most. There are so many. Soccer is the world's most popular sport. There are just so many different sports and so many athletes, and golf, tennis. There are
UFC,
so many.
Track and field,
right? Boxing. There's just the Olympics. And all of these athletes over the years, and so. The only thing I'll say about Pedro, as great as he was, and one of the best pitchers in baseball history, he was a pitcher. He's on the mound every 5 days. So, while he was one of the most dominant in his craft, he's there for 30 starts a year, maybe. And on top of that, there was sort of a short window relative to some of the other dominant athletes in his dominance, right? And so from 97 to 2003, 4 was dominant Pedro. So that's why I think hey, you know what? It's great that he's on the list. So that's where I stand.
Shows how effective he was, because that's when the list came out. I was like, how is he that low? And then I go 2000s. And the Pedro that literally struck fear into my heart growing up a Yankees fan was at 96, 97, especially late 90s into early 2000s Pedro. So it was in a bulk of his career, majority of him, obviously when he was great with Montreal, then got to Boston, was early 90s, and he hit his stride in those last 4 years. So it made sense. It's where these lists get just James Harden.
It's 67. Overwhelming, to be honest with you.
You have to go through all these athletes. And you hit it on Formula One, like Lewis Hamilton, Max Verstappen. I think Verstappen's going to be top 20. I think Lewis Hamilton should be top 10. We'll get into our top 3, who our predictions are. But those are the names. Those, as you said it, I think 96 was the best cricket player in the world. It's right. Then you go into the great soccer players of the 2000s and what they did. But it's the James Hardens at 67 where I know how good of a scorer Jimmy Harden is, but how much he came up short in the playoffs. He shouldn't be top 100 of the 2000s, in my opinion, compared to what Pedro did when the lights were brightest, what he did in 2004, breaking the curse. Yes, I know. We're in Boston. We're in Essen. We're doing this from Boston. So that 2004 World Series, though, no matter what, objectively, is literally historic. What the comeback was in the ALCS, how he had to bounce back throughout that series, and what he did as a starter, as a relief pitcher, and then repeated it in the World Series to break that curse in 2004. Mm-hmm. To me, that's what puts him ahead of guys like James Harden, and that's why I think it's low. I get it wasn't the best Pedro, and we're talking 2000s. I'm going to pick on James Harden.
2004 honestly wasn't. 2004 really wasn't Pedro's year relative to the success that he had throughout, his career earlier to that, and his postseason performances weren't, he pitched well, he did.
Yes.
But again, to your point, George, James Harden at 67 is just, I mean, but it's, yeah, people get obsessed with the stats, I'm sure if you look at the numbers, overall, like, without like revealing the player,
Mm-hmm.
you'd be like, oh, this is legit, and basketball is one of the world's most popular sports. Right.
Yep.
And I think that factors into it too. But, I hear you, man. I hear you. I hear you.
It's the Mookie Betts at 73 too. Two-time World Series
Yeah.
champion. It's still
An
one of the best
MVP.
baseball
Yeah.
players. Yeah, done all that. And you have Jimmy Harden ahead of them. All right, we'll get into who do you think, predicting who you think will be the 1, 2, 3. And we could go reverse on this. Give me your 3 of who do you think the top 3 most dominant athletes, best athletes of the 2000s will be.
Yeah. Oh, all right. We're gonna go reverse order. All right. Well, I'll go with after I just said that football is not even top 10 most popular sport. I'm gonna go with a football player. Any guesses?
Tom Brady.
Tom Brady.
Yep.
Tom Brady. So when I compiled this list, again, it's fun, and we'll see how it plays out, and we'll probably disagree on a couple, but I just think when I look at when I put this list together, I was looking at, like, are you the best ever in your respective sport at your position? And with Brady, he is. And like, I mean, I was like, oh, I'll write down all the things, here. And I'm like, we don't have, like, if we had a 2-hour podcast, maybe I could get through it. But what he was able to do, the longevity aspect of it too, right? The dominance for 2 decades plus, like, merely a quarter century, and doing it with 2 teams and winning MVPs at 40, like, that's ridiculous, and that's something that's transcendent, like, that's when you're talking about, like, the best ever, I feel like you got to be, the best ever period at your position, whatever you do, whatever your craft is. And Brady's really undisputed. I mean,
Yes.
he is. He is the undisputed best quarterback in NFL history, based on the facts and the numbers and the wins and everything. And so that's my number 3. That was my criteria.
And then you look at the whole body of work, what he did at how old he was, leaves New England, goes right to Tampa, wins another Super Bowl ring. And it's still a guy that even when he retired, we're like, he can still play. And you said it, there's the numbers. I mean, he's owns every major record for a quarterback, every statistical category for a quarterback. Obviously, the most Super Bowls for any individual. He has more Super Bowls than any single franchise does. I mean, he's the greatest winner of all time in any sport, in my opinion. So I love that number 3. And as much as I'm praising him, I didn't have him in my top 3. And why is this? I go with my number 3. I'm going Tiger Woods. And, it's the same criterion. I'll give him credit for same reason you give credit to Tom Brady. 15 major victories. It's 13 since 2000. And even his 2000, when he bursted onto the scene, I mean, he won a couple pre-2000, but PGA Championship, U.S. Open, and an Open win all in the same year. Second most major victories behind only Jack Nicklaus. 82 PGA wins are a record. And he's one of 5 golfers with a career Grand Slam. Tiger Woods from 2000 up until, his life really fell apart. But even after that, still competing at a high level and still being in the conversation of one of the top golfers in the world. I just think of what his dominance was from 2000 on with all those major victories. That's why I put Tiger Woods at 3. And again, like you said, the criteria, are you the best ever at what you did? I think this top 3 is so tough to break through, and I'm so interested of who they'll end up having. But for me, I put Tiger Woods at 3.
Yeah, no, I mean, I went back and forth with Tiger. I went back and forth, with a couple of other athletes. I think one is on your list, but the next, number 2 on my list is Michael Phelps.
Mm-hmm.
And again, you forget, it's like, oh yeah, the Olympics.
Yep.
I mean, the most decorated Olympian of all time. All-time record for medals. All-time record for gold medals, all-time record for individual medals, held a world record in 5 categories at one point, and one of the oldest gold medalists to win it. And again, you talk about, like, doing it for a long period of time, the sustained success, sustained dominance in your respective sports, in your craft. It's just remarkable. It's what, like, and that's why, and again, I wasn't the biggest LeBron James fan, right? And over the years, some of it had to do with the rivalry, that the Celtics had with him, and the teams that he played for. But I respect the hell out of the longevity aspect of it and the dominance that he continues, to put out there on the court, man. Like he's going to be 40 years old and he can still bring it, and that's just it's so impressive. And that really, like, I'm not alone in saying that is must see TV. It's such a compelling narrative, So again, that was why I chose Tom Brady where I did, is the same, sort of logic in choosing Michael Phelps.
Yeah, I mean, Phelps doing it what he did at his age, LeBron doing what he's doing, still one of the best players in the world at 40 is insane. For me, I went with 2. You called it out. Michael Phelps is my number 1, but 2, I went Serena Williams. 23 career, major titles. Only one of those came before 2000, and she won her record 23rd of her career when 20 weeks pregnant. Is insane to think of. And Serena Williams, at the height of her powers, that record is most for any man or woman in the open era. At the height of her powers, was the most dominant athlete on planet Earth, in my opinion. On a tennis court, put her with anyone, and it wasn't even close to level of competition. That's why I put Serena Williams with all the records she holds, and someone that turned pro at 14 against her parents' wishes, first competed in a high-level tournament at 17, and then won all of these major career Grand Slams and all these major titles to finish with 22 of those in the 2000s. That's why Serena Williams is my number 2. Was your number 1, as you were alluding to it, was your number 1 Tom Brady, LeBron James?
No, my number 1 was not LeBron James. My number 1 is Lionel Messi.
I like it.
Lionel Messi. Yeah. That's my dog chiming in, Mabel. We talk about soccer. It's the most popular. She does. Most popular. Actually, she's Portuguese, so she likes Cristiano Ronaldo. She's probably upset with me.
Yes.
The most popular sport in the entire world. A record 8 Ballon d'Ors. Second oldest to win it. 6 European golden shoes, most decorated player in the history of soccer, club record 34 trophies with Barcelona, an insane. Like I think he and Ronaldo have the most followers like on social media of any athlete in the entire world, right? And the two of those guys, over the years, just been remarkable to watch. And again, a player who had, a record 8 Ballon d'Ors, the most ever, the oldest to do it. And that's, again, like you see the sort of pattern with my list, right? Where it's just like these individuals are at the top of the mountain, like in what they do, and they have the numbers and they have the hardware to back it up. So Lionel Messi.
I love that pick at number 1. I didn't think of Messi on my list, and that's what, again, but like my top 3. And I didn't include Tom Brady too, but like I look at my top 3 and I go, that's such a solid top 3 still, and yours is too. That's why it's going to be so hard for them to split hairs and pick who their 1, 2, 3 are. My number 1 is Michael Phelps. Came out to the scene in 2008. Now has 23 gold medals to his name. The next closest person has 9, and there's a lot of them. But 23 to 9 and gold medals alone. And how he just was the greatest swimmer we've ever seen in Olympic history, whether in team relays, whether individually, how dominant he was for such a long period of time, still winning golds as of late in recent games. I should put Michael Phelps as number 1 athlete of the 2000s. And again, on the Olympic stage where no one, and all the competitors in track and field, yes, in swimming, you get more opportunities than in other disciplines. Like basketball, you only get 1 shot at a gold per summer games. Like wrestling, you only get 1 shot at a gold. But to me, it was Michael Phelps to be my number 1. I'm interested how they come out and see their top 10 though.
Yeah, I would agree. And I was thinking about Serena Williams. I mean, is there another siblings pair on the top 100, right? Because Venus cracked the top 100. I don't know if there's anybody else that, I don't know if there's anybody else that could say that, right? So that's kind of cool too. But yeah, it's a fun list. It's always fun to talk about and debate and discuss. And and like the James Harden thing again is just kind of like, yeah, that's debatable for sure. But yeah, no, it's cool. I am interested to see the top 50.
Yeah, just get Jimmy Harden off the list. So I saw that this list is null and void. I prefer to call him James. It's Jimmy Harden, in my opinion. Hey, that's it for this edition of Boston Has Entered the Chat. I'm George Balekji inside the PNC Bank studio. He's Adam Pellerin. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure to like, subscribe, rate, and review wherever you get your podcast. Head over to Nesson's YouTube, Nesson's Twitch to like, subscribe, and follow along there as well. For the both of us, that's it on the chat. We'll see you guys next time.